Hello, everyone. Salam Sejahtera. A very good afternoon or good evening to all attendees. Thank you for joining our very first virtual international conference on ubiquitous education and learning. In short, VICUEL 2020, which is a joint collaboration between University Technology Malaysia and University of Negeri Malang. Now, we wish everyone well. I'm Ivy Tan from the School of Education, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, University Technology Malaysia. It is my pleasure to be the moderator for today's session. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to our keynote sessions. We are honored to have two very profound women who are going to share their expertise and experience in the field of education with us. First of all, let me introduce our first speaker, Professor Dr. Fatin Alia Pang, to every one of you. Professor Fatin is currently the Chair of School of Education, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanity, University Technology Malaysia. She's also a Fellow at the Center of Engineering Education, UTM. Now, her areas of specialization include STEM education and environmental education. She has published more than 100 journal papers, 20 book chapters, and a few policy papers. Until today, she has led 20 research grants and involved in 70 research projects and consultations that amount to 12 million ringgit Malaysia. From the 17 intellectual properties produced from the research, 7 of them were commercialized. And she is also one of the recipients of the Top Research Scientist Malaysia in 2019 and other international and national awards in research and community projects such as Okayama Education for Sustainable Development Award in 2018 and also the Regional Center of Expertise on Education for Sustainable Development Global Award 2015. Now, just a reminder to all of you throughout the session, please feel free to share your thoughts, ideas, or comments in our Facebook chat box. For today's session, Prof. Fatin will talk about education for sustainable development through STEM education. Now, without further ado, let us welcome Prof. Dr. Fatin Alia Pang to deliver her talk.
Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Tan, for the introduction. Let me share the slides that I'm going to present for you today. One second. Okay. I'm not sure why is it not working. Okay. Let me try again. Okay, I cannot. Okay. Okay. Let me try one more time. Okay, I hope you can see the slides. Okay. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. My name is Fatin. Today we're going to discuss about education for sustainable development, or ESD, through STEM education. Before we go further from here, let's look at the word STEM. Now, STEM stand for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I think many of you are familiar with STEM education, but what we're going to talk about today is further than STEM education, which is green STEM. Now, green STEM, there's many research actually published by the National Wildlife Federation 2015. It gathered a few studies. It shows that students are more motivated to learn and do better in schools when they feel that their learning is connected to a larger purpose. So if they want them to learn STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, we should give them something that they can relate to and connected to a larger purpose. For example, in this context, when they learn STEM, we try to connect them with ESD, or Education for Sustainable Development, or the bigger goal, which is the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. I'll explain SDG later on. But if we can educate the students on STEM education using this larger purpose like ESD or SDG, learning STEM will be much better, more fun, and more motivating. all these real world issues.
Yes. Hello everyone. Seems that we are having some internet connection problem, right? Now, do give us some time to settle the technical problem and we'll be back soon. Thank you so much, right? Now, while looking at the topic of today's topic, when we talk about sustainable education, please welcome to post your question or comment regarding this issue, right? We will be very happy to receive all the comments from you. All right? So we will be back soon. Thank you so much. Thank you all. We are back again, and we apologize for the inconvenience caused. All right. Please be informed that the attendance link is open from 12:15 till 4 p.m. So kindly register your attendance by clicking on the link that has been shared in the chat box. Yeah. Now, let us first welcome our next keynote speaker, right? While waiting for Prof. Fatin to overcome the technical issue, let us proceed with our next keynote speakers, who is Professor Dr. Sri Rohayu. Allow me to introduce Prof. Sri Rohayu to all. Prof. Rohayu is a professor at the University of Negeri Malang. Since December 1991, she is a lecturer of chemistry in Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. She was also the head of postgraduate chemistry education program, Series 2 and 3 in 2015 until 2018. Her master is in science education and was completed at the Deakin University, Australia. She also completed a non-degree education at Naruto University of Education, Japan, in the field of science education. Starting in 2001, she was active as a counterpart in the INSTEP JICA and Systems JICA programs. And during this period, she had the opportunities to study ICT and studied at the Tokyo Institute of Technology and Suzuka University. Until now, she is still active as a facilitator in the implementation of lesson study in the Pasuruan area. In addition, starting from 2006, she comes to Okayama University every year as a guest researcher with a PhD Ronpaku JSPS program. Now, her research areas are social scientific issues, innovative chemistry learning strategies, HOTS, communication skills, NOS-based learning, and deep affective dimension. Now, today, Prof. Rahayu will be talking on social scientific issue-based instruction, a challenge in developing scientific literacy. This is such an interesting topic. So let's welcome Professor Rahayu.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for moderator for allowing me to present my presentation this afternoon. Let me share my PPT. Okay, my title is Socio-Scientific Issue-Based Instruction, a Challenge in Developing Scientific Literacy. I will talk about scientific or chemical literacy, the nature of chemistry education, the nature of socio-scientific issues, socio-scientific issues-based instruction, and challenge of socio-scientific issue-based instruction. One of the most important goals of science, including chemistry education, is developing scientific literacy. As we know that scientific literacy is very broad definition, or we can see in the literature or many definition, but I will pick up one definition, general. It is general definition. Scientific literacy is the capacity to use scientific knowledge to identify questions and to draw evidence-based conclusion in order to understand and help make decisions about the natural world and the changes made to it through human activity. And also, I will pick up the more specific definition from Graeber. Literacy science is actually intersection between what do people know, what do people value, and what can people do. It means that we should have this component of knowledge, and we also should have ethical competence, and also we should have some competency like learning competency, social competency, procedural competence, communicative competence. And one of the important here is the nature of science, or we call it NOS. And if we see scientific literacy, basically, because we are from science, so we can see from more specific like a physical literacy, chemical literacy, and biological literacy. And now what we call chemical literacy. So if we call someone who chemically literate persons, so it means that the person should understand general scientific ideas such as how chemists conduct scientific inquiry, and he or she should understand also the characteristic of chemistry, like explaining phenomena, investigate the dynamic process of and reaction and the energy changes, and understand and explain life, and the use of specific language. We understand, especially from a chemistry background, that chemistry have so many scientific language, specific language in chemistry. And also the person should understand chemistry in context, like understand the importance of chemical knowledge in explaining everyday phenomena, and can use their concept of chemistry in their daily life, in decision making, and in participating in social debates regarding chemistry related issue. And also he or she have higher order learning skill. What is that? That is for example, a raise question, able to raise questions, searching information, analyze the advantages and disadvantages associated with a position in any debate. And also he or she should understand affective, or should have affective aspect like curiosity, leadership, social and cultural awareness. That is the picture of a chemical literate person. But chemistry education faced many problems since a long time ago, many years ago, until now still have some problems, like a lack of transfer. Lack of transfer, it means that student lack or cannot transfer what they study in a school to their daily life outside school. And lack of relevance, it means that chemistry is not relevant for their daily life. Chemistry in a classroom is different from a chemical or like whatever chemistry in outside school. And also inadequate emphasis on chemistry. It means that chemistry is only a topic, only content that students should learn about the content in the classroom. And major chemistry society reflects significant concern about limited public understanding of chemistry. It means that very few people really understand what is chemistry, especially chemistry in their daily life. And recent statistics also suggest that public chemical literacy is very low. So these are connecting to the previous statement. And so we need to humanize chemistry education. The nature of chemistry education, as we know that from the beginning, chemistry explain who study chemistry, they should understand, they should explain in terms of like a macroscopic, submicroscopic, and symbolic. This famous by terminology of Johnston triangle. But because of many problems facing in chemistry education, so chemical society try to add to make chemistry more humanized, such as adding some one element of from triangle, add one element of human element, we call it human element, and then this idea come from Mahaffey, so we call it Mahaffey chemistry education. So it is an effort from chemistry society to make chemistry more humanized. So one approach to implement the humanistic perspective is the use of context-based education. So what do the student need to know and to understand the context? That is the rising question from this context-based education. And the general feature of contextualizing chemistry education is authentic tasks, and then making chemistry relevant, and connecting to the community. And the last is context, the very important context. And one context that we can use for contextualized chemistry instruction is socio-scientific issue. What is socio-scientific issue? Socio-scientific issue is use of science or chemistry topic purposefully and requires students to engage in dialogue, discussion, and debate. And problem is usually controversial, but has additional elements that require reasoning, moral, or evaluate ethical issues in the process of making decisions to solve the problem. The aim that these issues are personally meaningful and interesting to students require evidence-based reasoning and use context to understand the scientific information presented. This is the nature of socio-scientific issue, and not all issue can identified as socio-scientific issues unless the issue has this characteristic. So what is that? For example, I give it example like we can take issue like health effect of pollution. So we can use this issue, bring this issue into classroom. And then what else like this? Liver disease and alcohol. Some people drink alcohol and some people very much drink alcohol, and what is the effect? Many alcohol inside the body, the people will get disease like a liver, and we can bring this discussion debate or more engage in argumentation. And then what else? Like monosodium glutamate, we call it fatsin in Indonesian. We call it fatsin. So people use this food additive in chemistry, give more strong flavor. But for students or for children, they like very much chicky or like this potato or whatever in a snack. But this is not unhealthy unless we can limit intake for our body. So this very harmful effect for our health. And what else? Like acid rains. This is a chemistry related. Like what happened to the fish or to forest, for instance, or this statue, and what happened to this, and then what happened to we can relate it to acid rains, and we can maybe explain or discuss, make a question to student, and we can use this as issue. And then another example is pesticide like this, and we also have like controversy using pesticide, and we also people introduce organic foods, and also which one is better, which one is very cost, and etc. And the most issue we can, and also this real, we everywhere in the world experience this, especially for students. They very have really affect their life nowadays, like COVID-19 outbreaks. We can choose whatever dilemma or controversial issue inside the COVID, such as in chemistry. Maybe we can choose like the use of antibacterial soap, like which one is better, antibacterial soap or origin or regular soap for cleaning our hand, and etc. Which one is related to in my field, which one is the issue is related to chemistry, which one is for biology, maybe connect to biology, and we can take this issue and bring and develop and bring to classroom and discuss with students. And context-based teaching is when the teacher introduces a topic or a lesson from a real-world context, like COVID, and relate this to the learning of science or chemistry concept. The real-world context can be included in a number of different ways. For example, a product used in society, a situation described, or an event, as I described previously, which is occurring or has occurred. And we can introduce this, deliver this issue in the classroom using case-based or problem-based or project-based. What is a case? A case is commonly a description of an actual situation that involves a decision, a challenge, an opportunity, a problem, or an issue faced by a person or a person in an organization. So this is a kind of socio-scientific issues related. And characteristic of socio-scientific issue-based instruction focus. So this SSI-based instruction have focus on specific scientific content like chemistry and relationship between other areas of science and discipline. Maybe we can link to economy, we can link to biology or government or like whatever, maybe rule or whatever, another context, another area of science, maybe or discipline, maybe social. SSI is social actually. And then we also focus on the nature of science, epistemic knowledge. And then a higher order learning skill, focus on higher order learning skill. In using SSA-based instruction, we can emphasis on inquiry or any skill like higher order learning skill, like analyzing and interpreting data, using evidence to participate in argumentation. So argumentation can be trained. We can train argumentation, how to argument better, and we can also train students how to communicate information, how to collect, to evaluating and communicate information. And also we focus on decision making and reasoning. And teacher in this can use a media, any media, conventional media or media resources with technology. But because this is the timely, we use technology. Teachers should or must use technology because most of school close in the school, but using technology. If we deliver socio-scientific based issue, teacher must creatively make instruction and put technology inside whatever video or media or website or etc. And then this picture or diagram, relationship between teacher and student, socio-scientific issue discourse. If we look at the teacher have a knowledge of subject matter, teacher have knowledge about chemistry. She also has pedagogical content knowledge, and also she has a multidiscipline life experience. This will facilitate socio-scientific issue embedded in scientific and social context, and also use appropriate scientific content. And a student can use and develop knowledge of subject matter, chemistry, part of chemistry, or especially for application of chemistry, and then nature of science, life experiences, transferable skill. This is very, very important to develop by students to reach or to get to achieve literacy, scientific literacy or chemically literacy person, to be literacy, chemically literate person, like critical thinking, problem solving, argumentation, scientific explanation, team working, etc. And also most important, like we call it in grammar, this is intersection. The literacy is intersection between knowledge, what people know, and then what people can do, and how this is affective also curiosity, interest, social and environment. So the most important thing is teachers should set up instruction which is very interesting, and teachers student have curiosity on it. And then a challenge of socio-scientific issue based instruction. I with my student conducted survey using Google Form. Participant is 58 chemistry teachers selected by convenience sampling. They agree and voluntary to be respondent. The questionnaire consists of the need to introduce SSI, factor that hinders the use of SSI, and teachers' self-confidence in teaching. And we get the result like this. The need to introduce SSI. This is almost 91% of teachers strongly agree to introduce SSI in the classroom. And then inhibiting factor, 57% strongly agree that there is a factor that will hinder on the use of SSI. And self-confident, 65% strongly agree or they feel confidence in teaching SSI. And the benefit of socio-scientific issue engage student in dialogue, discussion, and debates. And another will strengthen the content knowledge, interest, curiosity, scientific reasoning skill, socio-scientific reasoning skill, critical thinking, argumentation, etc. And challenge for teachers when they introduce socio-scientific lesson, they need to be periodically updated to keep up with changing news or content daily, day to day. Maybe the issue or the news will change. And research studies suggest that science teachers find challenges to guide student learning in socio-scientific issues because teachers to use information and knowledge from outside their scientific, and also professional development programs should started on focusing pedagogical challenge of teaching. Thank you very much. This is my presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Sri Rahayu, for her dynamic and fruitful sharing, especially on highlighting the context-based teaching and also acknowledging the social scientific issues, which is very timely when we are facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Right. Again, if anyone has any question, please post your question in the chat box. I'm sure Prof. Sri Rahayu will be pleased to answer them either through Facebook or other means. Right? Now, I'm sure all of us are looking forward to our final keynote speakers. Now, Prof. Fatin is back and she will talk about education for sustainable development through STEM education. So without further ado, let us welcome Prof. Dr. Fatin Aliapang to deliver her talk.
So sorry for the technical issue just now. I learned my lesson, so I get Dr. Nina to share the slides. Please slide. Okay. I just continue from what I left just now about STEM education. People talk about STEM education quite a lot. So we are talking about one step a bit further, which we call green STEM. It's not a new concept. It's been introduced since 2015 because research shows that students learn better about STEM when they understand something, the knowledge will be used for a larger purpose. Like in our context that I'm trying to talk about today is we can talk about ESD or SDG. ESD stands for Education for Sustainable Development, or SDG is Sustainable Development Goals. I'll talk about that later on. But if you remember what Prof. Rahayu said about the social scientific issues, this is something you can relate to. Okay, because when you learn STEM in a more in a which has a more meaningful or real life context, you become better. You learn better. You get motivated. Students want to learn more about STEM, so you get them. If you use green STEM, they will explore the real world issues much better using issues like recycling, electricity saving, water saving, solar energy, and so on. And it is more real to them, and they can also sharpen their STEM skills by doing some projects. Next slide, please. So this is SDG. It has been introduced since 2015 to replace the Millennial Development Goals, which has 8 goals before this. Now SDG has 17 goals. If you look at the goals are like no poverty. It's quite a social scientific issue as well as what Prof. Rahayu said in the previous keynote. But SDG is something that it's trying to solve the issue of the society, the economy, and the environment problem. Why is that the problem? Next slide, please. When you want to develop in a more sustainable manner, every countries want to develop and want to prosper. So when you develop, you want to prosper, you in one way or another, you will have to think about how to ensure there's a balance in the society, in economy and environment. Why? If you develop, you might have some people, some groups of people who might left behind in the development. Like now we have poor people in urban areas. So this is one problem. So you don't want to have development, but the societies are suffering. Also, you don't want to have development, but then some people only like 5% of the population get like half of the world wealth. We don't want to have that. We want everyone to enjoy the economy and the prosperity. And finally, environment. We don't want to have development, but we will just destroy the environment. So this is what we want about sustainable development. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So education for sustainable development, or ESD, is a concept where you want to educate people about the knowledge, skills, values, and behaviors so that they can continue to develop but become sustainable. So that's why we want to introduce ESD through STEM education. Okay, next. Under this, we are talking about look at issues from the social perspective, which the Prof. Rahayu talked about already. Economic, also Prof. Rahayu talked about already. And also we can look into environment. Okay, the social pillar, economic pillar, and environment pillar. These are 3 pillars under ESD. Next slide, please. And next slide. Okay, so this ESD can become programs that for people to learn, to develop, to research, and to take action, so that we can develop our society, our countries to be more sustainable, looking after the 3 pillars. Okay, next. Johor is our region, UTM, is under the RC Iskandar. RC stands for Regional Center of Expertise for Education for Sustainable Development. So in RC Iskandar, we have a model to create a more sustainable environment or society, which this is the model where we have the authority, which is Johor State Education Department, that give authorization for us, the government agencies, the university, the schools, to work together to ensure that we give formal education of ESD. We can do it through STEM education. I'll talk about it more later on. But this model gives us some different levels of working, from the principal or management level to teachers level and to student levels. Okay, so next please. So this I'm going to introduce 2 projects if I got time, but the first one is on primary school. It's called Iskandar Malaysia Eco-Life Challenge, or IMELC. This project is actually a ESD program, a low carbon society program, where we educate our primary school students aged 12 years old about low carbon society, climate change, greenhouse gases, and so on, so that they can become more aware of whatever they do in their life has some certain impact, or they actually emit some carbon. When there's more carbon, then the more greenhouse gases, then more heat is trapped in this atmosphere. So we create what we call global warming. And with global warming, the effect will become climate change. When climate change happens, we will have problems to plant, to mitigate, there'll be more floods, cyclone, and so on. So we cannot control our life or our environment. So that's why we have to learn about low carbon society. So next, please. And under this IMELC program, we have some phases. The first phase, we train the teachers about low carbon society, about the environment, STEM education. And then we distribute the workbooks to the teachers. The workbooks are for the students. So the teacher will bring back the workbooks and go to their schools and distribute to all the students, the 12 years old students, year 6 students, and they will complete the workbooks. I'll introduce the workbook later on, what are the contents. And at the same time, the student will do some school project to reduce the water, electricity usage of the school. And also they will do recycling to try to save, to manage the solid waste at school. And we gather all the information, we do study, we also evaluate the students' achievement in doing the school projects and the workbooks. We choose the best schools to enter the final, and previously the winner gets a study trip to Japan. So it's very exciting for them. Okay, next please. So we started IMELC in 2013 with 23 primary schools, and it kept going more and more and more. And last year we managed to work with 470 primary school, which amount to about 45,000 primary school students. Next, and this year we are doing it with 564 primary school. I think more than that. Dr. Nina can confirm it. This year we're doing it using Google Classroom, and these are the workbook content. Look at content, we have comics to teach the students about climate change, global warming, so some STEM education cartoons. Self-check for them to look at the water, the electricity appliances at home. And then they also have some pages for them to do their own household accounting. They learn about their water bill, electricity bills, they read their own bills, so they can learn about, actually all about STEM, kilowatt, meter cube. Okay, so they learn about all this, but in a more realistic way, because they're trying to solve problems, they try to learn some meaningful things at home. And they also have to read their parents' vehicles, the odometer of their parents' vehicle, so they read about mileage, because all this they can later on, they will do some calculation from the data they gathered from their parents at home, the vehicle. Then they will do some calculation. Next please. They'll do some calculation of the data they collected. So it's very scientific, it's very STEM. And then next, they also have to learn some STEM knowledge about recycling, why recycling, some renewable energy. They also have to learn about, they have to write some reflection of what they've learned. So they actually become more critical, they become more effective. Next please. And this is the reflection they have to write. And then next, they also we try to make it more creative, so they can have some fun of to try to broaden their creativity. And finally, it's more fun if we give them some simple games in the workbook. So there are only 24 pages of the workbook, but include some ESD, STEM education in it. Next. So we have Alhamdulillah, this project has won many awards, because it's quite effective in imparting or instilling ESD, and also improve STEM education. Next. I'm just going to show you some simple data. We managed to measure the awareness, so we can see about 12% of low carbon society awareness increased, about 170,000 ringgit Malaysia of cycling collected every year. There's 1.5 million kilogram of carbon reduced, so on. So these are some simple data we get. Next one, I just want to show some more complex data. So these are data we collected from the workbook. You can imagine the workbook they've given us. Then we calculate all the carbon emission, and this is what we get. They actually can reduce about 900,000 kilogram of carbon in 1 month for the school that participate in our program in 2019. And in total, the recycling they earn, the money that they have saved from electricity and water bills, can be amount to about 150,000 ringgit Malaysia. So this is the data we gather every year. So with this data, we get sponsors, we get partners who want to keep continue to work with us, because we give them data that they can see that this program is working, is giving awareness, is reducing carbon emission, and so on. At the same time, students learn STEM. They get to become more interested about STEM, because they get to use all the skills of STEM skills just doing one simple program for 1 month. Okay, next please. One more, next. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you another program which is at the secondary school level. When I talk about problem-based learning, yes, we use that also in our program to learn about STEM. In this program, we started with in 2016 with 2 schools. It kept going on until this year, but unfortunately with COVID problem, we cannot continue to proceed this year. But I'm going to show you what happened before this. Next, please. The school that joined this program, they were joining this program for 1 year. So it was teacher training in the beginning, and then the teacher will craft problems. The problems are low carbon but STEM related. I'm going to show you some example later on. And then after the problem has been designed, they'll implement the PBL in the class for about 6 months. And our expert from UTM will go to the school and supervise and observe the class and help them to improve their PBL, improve their STEM knowledge and low carbon awareness. And then they will submit their final report of the PBL, problem-based learning. And then we pick the best groups of students to join the competition. It's not by school, it's by groups of students. So we did it every year. This is what we get. Next, please. Okay. Next, please. So next. Okay, now this is an example of the problem crafted by the teacher. So it's quite real world because SWM Environment is a real company, our concession company that collect waste. So the teachers designed the problem so it's real, it's environmental related, and the STEM problems in there. Because in this program there are 4 teachers. There are 4 teachers involved in one class. The teachers are maths teachers, science teachers, RBT or technology teachers, and also English teachers. So these 4 teachers, they work together to craft the problems and conduct the PBL class to bring awareness of low carbon at the same time to impart STEM education. Okay, next one, please. Next slide, please. It's not moving. Okay, now another one. Sorry, go back. There's one more problems related to low carbon society and also STEM education. So it's also related to waste management. It's about working with the local authority, the Johor Bahru local authority. Okay, next. So we did some studies from the reflection of students, the interview and observation. What we got is that initially in the early stage, there are a lot of negative. You can see the slide. The green color shows the positive things they talk about in the beginning and the end of the PBL, and the orange colors are all the negative things they talk about. So from a student's perspective, if you see the early stage, there are less positive things, but then at the end they become more positive. But on the negative side, you see more in the early stage and then less in the negative in the final stage. So the students get to change their perception about learning using PBL, and they become better to manage themselves, more confident, can work together, more independent. The thing you want them to learn from this PBL is STEM knowledge, low carbon awareness, and also become an independent learner. So they get to learn by themselves, collect data, they decide what they want to learn. So next, we also see changes among teachers. It's the same pattern of teachers. Next slide, please. Yeah, the teacher also changed. You can see the similar pattern where teachers has more negative things to talk about in the beginning, but then they become the more positive at the end. So especially what they learn is that they also more knowledge they also become work together much better, because teachers just work by themselves. They teach one class, one teacher, one class, one subject, one class. So teachers, they don't learn how to teamwork. But through this program, 4 teachers teaching one class, so they become better work together if you are teachers. More cooperation, more teamwork, more knowledge they learn. They get to be much happier. Before this, they were stressful because they don't know how to do PBL. They don't know how to do student-centered program. They spoon feed their students, but now they are happy to let the students learn by themselves with good facilitation and motivation skills. Okay, go next. What we get from this PBL. Next. I got video to show, but I don't think I have time. But what we learned from the PBL program is that teachers the students and teacher both they have more low carbon awareness. Also, the student gain high order thinking skill. They are more critical. They ask questions. They discuss in their groups. They question their friends' ideas and what their friends have shared. They also gain 21st century skill. If you see that, they in the data before this, they actually learn they become more confident. They become more creative, critical. They know how to solve problems. Okay, and then they change attitude, become more independent. They're more curious. They are more adaptable. Teachers said that they are happy with the students because after they finish the program in Form 2, these are the Form 2 students, 14 years old. And after that, every time if there are problems in school, they need some students to solve the problems of the school or join some last minute competition. They will just call these PBL students, and they just like happily help teachers and solve the problems. And what we're happy about this PBL project, this PBL low carbon project, is that the students learn science. Science become more meaningful to them because they can apply scientific knowledge. They learn scientific knowledge themselves. They will go to internet and search for information and try to find out what are the knowledge about STEM that they can use to solve the low carbon problems. Like for example, just now the solid waste management. So they have to learn about solid waste management. They learn about recycling, the carbon emission, the weight, the life cycle of a product. So all these scientific terms they have to learn, and these are all within and beyond the science or the STEM syllabus. So they actually have to learn themselves, and they are more motivated to learn because this is something to do with their life, and this happened at their home, their schools, their environment, in their context that they are familiar with. And finally, PBL also improve school-based assessment. Teachers are able to tell us the performance of individual students because they get to go around the classes, the odd class, and look at the students. They observe the students discussion in the group, the student work, because each student will have sort of like a journal or a diary thing. So the student will write down what they have learned. So every student have one, and the teachers can use that as a school-based assessment to know how much the student have learned, how much students do not understand, and the student peer teach them their friends. So when they teach their friends or they present in front of the class, the teacher can be able to assess the student performance, how much they've understood about the issues and the STEM knowledge. So these are the two main projects that we have conducted at schools in Iskandar, Malaysia or Johor, related to STEM education, and is to improve the awareness and knowledge skills in ESD. Next slide, please. Okay, so if there are any questions, you can put it on the comments box. If no, then I leave it to the moderator, Dr. Tan, to continue with our next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Fatin, from her interesting and insightful sharing, particularly on highlighting the importance of STEM education for sustainable development, which acknowledging the crucial issues of environment sustainability. And also it is interesting to look at the initiative and the impact of the problem-based learning implemented by Prof. Dr. Fatin and her research team. Please do not forget to register your attendance no later than 4 p.m. today by clicking on the link that has been shared in the chat box. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we have one question coming in. It's from Mr. Muttalib Abu Malik. Thank you so much for the question. Now, to be able to understand SSC, students need the essential knowledge related to the issue. How to equip the students with knowledge to be able to understand and explain complex social issues such as COVID-19. Now, I'm sure this question is directed to probably Prof. Rahayu to answer this. Thank you, Prof. Rahayu.
Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Muntalib Abu Malik. This is my friend actually. Okay, how to equip students? Students need to the essential knowledge related to the issue. So we as a teacher should set up or develop a program or an issue and then provide student with additional information, for instance a website, or we can prepare student some question and focus on some questions. It's not to open a student whatever they will think, but we should make scaffolding students, and prepare students with guiding questions, direct students to understand what first and the next question, and student will do activity based on our direction. That's my question, my answer.
Thank you so much, Prof. Rahayu. Any input from Prof. Fatin as well?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Thank you for the question from Mr. Mutalib. I think the question that to Prof. Rahayu, but I think what we can do is we actually talk about these issues before in our problem-based learning. When you want to direct the student to learn something complex, difficult, you cannot just teach them. It has to be student-centered. Where I know carbon issue is very complex. It's not something easy for them to learn. But we ask our teachers not to teach the students. They must facilitate the students. What we do in the process of PBL is at first we give them interesting problem, creative problems, so they want to solve. Number two, we guide them to do problem identification. When they identify problems, they will write down what we call it KNL table. What they know, K, what they know, N, what they need to know, and L, what they need to learn. So K and L tables, they have to list down. So when we create the problems for them to learn complex social issues, we have already list down the things they want them to learn. So when they design the problem, we design the problem based on the learning outcomes that we want them to learn. So eventually, when they do the problem identification, they come up with the K and L table. So they come up with the learning issue they need to learn will have to usually match with the learning outcomes we have set in the beginning. So they will start learning themselves, discuss in their group, and then we can listen, we can observe their learning. We know if they understood or not. We do not expect our students to be that good, but alhamdulillah, when they go through this process of doing their learning by themselves using PBL, they can actually answer all the complex issues, the problems that the teachers and even us, we don't understand, we don't know. Like for example, there were plastic issues that we don't know, but the students managed to find out the issues that actually is beyond the teachers and even ourselves, the researchers, understanding. So I think it's something that we can try if you want to use PBL.
Thank you, Prof. Fatin.
Maybe I will add, if more specifically, if we want to use case-based, so we introduce a student with a case. So we have maybe something to read by students, and then we can implement like what we want to set up. Like we want students to be able to solve ill-structured problems. So we must use or make some question first, how to generate or how to present a problem to students, and etc, etc. So we cannot direct student big issue, but we have to focus the use of hand sanitizer, which one is good, bacterial, antibacterial, or regular, which one is better, something like this. And then what is the problem? A student allowed to ask a question like, what is the problem actually in this? And then we can direct scaffolding another question like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies, for highlighting that the learning should take place gradually, and focus on student-centered learning that is highly contextual based. And also scaffolding process is so important. Now, finally, is there any take note points from both speakers that you would like to share with our attendees?
From you to go first?
You.
Yeah, me, okay. I think I think when you look, I think both of us are talking about STEM education. Prof. Ryo has shown us talking about learning STEM using social scientific issues, which is a very interesting topics. I think a lot that we can learn. Well, I'm trying to show that STEM learning can be fun if it can be related to their daily life. So our context that we use is ESD, Education for Sustainable Development. Is something very, there's a large purpose that we call that we try to achieve, which is the SDG. So I really hope that by marrying STEM education and SDG or ESD, we can bring our students to love science, love STEMs, and also we try to protect our environment and develop sustainably in terms of social, economy, and environment. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, I continue. For the socio-scientific issue, actually is similar to the STEM as you said before. But the very special issue for SSI, we can identify socio-scientific issues if the issue has controversial and has dilemma and include the moral, include like ethics, and in the discussion should come up with that issue. So like pollution. So what happened to this human? So that's connect to human, social. So if our issue doesn't connect to social or human life, it is not uh, really a socio-scientific issue. But this, I think this is a new, also in research, this is still new area of research. And also from my surveys, teachers also are very interested in this. And this is also challenges for them, how to, this is a demanding task for them also, how to prepare or to set up instruction using this issue, because this need very vast knowledge of teacher. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, finally, thank you so much to Prof. Rahayu and also Prof. Fatin. I can see that both of you, really emphasize on humanizing education, and both have the heart to love for the environment. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your active participation in this keynote session. We hope that you have had a fruitful and joyous session. Thank you and bye-bye.